Alright, this section's pretty long. It pretty much goes over to like asbestos and shit like I talked in the third chapter. And This is really not that important. It's just maintenance. Chapter 4, Historical Building Maintenance. Policy and objective of the National Historical Preservation Act of 1966 established the federal STEM policy, the stewardship for American cultural resources, including historical buildings. The Act requires federal agencies to identify the historical buildings they own, to use them wisely, and to maintain them for the benefit of future generations. The Navy is committed with preserving and maintaining historical buildings, but not to restoring the building's original and historical appearance. The National Park Service is the lead preservation agency of federal government that has developed guidelines for preservation, stabilization, rehabilitation of historical buildings based on the standards established from the Secretary of Interior. 411. Integrity of the building in original, old, and modern aspect. Not every old building is historic. Not every historical building is very old. Some important historic structures are neither built nor especially interesting to look at. Otherwise, being altered and all out for deteriorate. Some they have no longer qualified for historic. Certain parts of any of the historic structures are more important than others. Even experts may have trouble sorting it all out. So it is not safe to rely on your own or personal taste. Checking the construction date, listen on facility inventory, construction date before 1946 should alter you that the building may require specific historic treatment. Remember that in the historic buildings, protect the building materials is a vital part of the protecting the building for reason of even routine maintenance tasks needed to be done with care. Historic buildings lose their historical architectural qualities if too much of it what makes significant is changed or lost or removed. Additional that they are more than 50 years old and may also be historically significant. Few historic buildings and should remain completely unaltered, identified for many of the good reasons that may be desirable to add a more modern aspect to the old building and new rooms, entire building wings, entire portions, handicap accesses, aids, emergency exits, and modern amenities such as more efficient heating and air conditioning system, updating lighting and electrical services such as even elevators. Such changes can help to keep the modern building young if they are made in ways that respect the characteristics of the building and its materials. If they are careless, they can be destroyed in historic means, even with the structure itself. Alteration additions should be installed in a way that does not harm the historic fabric and can be removed at a later date without leaving an impaired historic structure. Alright, 4.2, deterioration of material. Even well-maintained buildings constantly process changing of the materials are made to deteriorate. Do you understand the building materials fails how they can be made to last longer than necessary, with knowing that something of it make up. The following is briefly summary of the major building materials, some of the most frequent problems. Masonry. Masonry is a term that applies to stone, brick, terracotta, adobe concrete, stucco, and mortar. It is one of the most durable in all building materials, as a well-built, well-cared for masonry building can last for centuries, but it can be quickly ruined in wrong maintenance for the repair and techniques and harsh cleaning methods such as sandblasting. Brick is a mixture of clay and sand that has been shaped in molds and partially dried and then baked at a high temperature to produce a hard surface. Generally, the older the brick, the softer and less dense it is, and the most irregular the color and surface textures are. Hand-molded brick used in buildings constructed before about 1830 are very soft. Pressed brick are used later in the 19th century, mechanically formed for the higher pressure to make the harder than dense product with a smooth, uniform surface. The turn to the 20th century, patterns of bricks variety with the surface texture and colors other than red and brown, usually yellow and cream, came into use, especially in the earliest periods of brick, were often rubbed and shaped to achieve the decorative effect. Variations of color textures produced different natural materials in the clay and varied firing temperatures to produce the decorative effects. Very soft, low-grade brick, solid brick may be also found filler behind the face brick. And the buildings of all the periods, the filler brick is especially subject to the crumbling exposed water. The quality of the brick, its size, color, and texture of various brick bonding patterns found in historical buildings often suggest that they were built and how they were used. In see Figure 4.1, the brick surfaces may span and crumble. The brick may crack. Harsh cleaning may remove the crust. The essential for the weathering ability of the brick. Acquiring the damaged brick is almost near feasible and never feasible. A major advantage of the masonry construction in general, brick buildings in the particular. And so when the building uses units decay or damage, they can easily be cut out and replaced. Sometimes bricks from a less visible part of the building can be swapped, and damaged ones matching salvage bricks can be found. Since bricks are almost every type of they are still being made, there is no reason for settle for the less exact replica when replacements are needed. This shows a flush joint, common mid-19th century, a colonel grape joint, Flemish bond, 1720, bedded joint, Flemish bond, raked joint, English bond, flush joint, 1/3 running bond, concave common bond, 20th century. All right, stone. Although we think that stone is hard material, many building stones are quite soft. For instance, limestone, sandstone, especially the types known as brownstone, marble, can be dissolved plain water. They are subject to the pitting and staining of the erosion. The sulfuric acid and the acid rain can dissolve and surface the limestone. Building structural stress can also cause cracking. Moisture, the freezing of the thaw cycle may also cause spalling. The hard protective crust on the stone formed with the new can be destroyed with a harsh cleaning method. Stone has a natural bonding plan, playing with one of the direction when its layers were formed on the earth, somewhat with the grain with the wood. Often structural strength as well as the beauty depends partially on being laid as in the plane of the perpendicular rather than parallel to the face of the building. Otherwise, to eliminate or separate all the bedding planes, if exfoliate the face of the stone peels off. See Figure 4.1. De-icing chemicals can be destroyed. Masonry steps, walks can leak into the nearby masonry walls, cause chemical damage. Unlike brick and damaged stone often can be repaired under the modern epoxy consolidation. However, any of the repair, more extensive reattaching small section must be done by the masonry experts. All right, mortar is a bedding material that separates the building of the units of the masonry structure. The mortar, as used in most 18th, 19th century buildings, was made in lime and sand, little cement mixed with water. Because of the elastic softness in comparison with the masonry mortar, allows the structure to shift and give slightly under the stress. It is also cushioned individual masonry units from which to the much pressure. Early mortar made most of lime very weak, porous compared with the modern cement. However, it is weak and its advantage for the standpoint. Old masonry would be overstressed in the hard mortar. Likewise, Portland cement was used. Absorbent quality of the lime mortar was also helpful because it also excessive moisture transpire breathe out of the building. On the other hand, its absorbance becomes troublesome when the groundwater is pulled out of the walls and capillary action, creating the condition of the rising damp. All right, mortar mixes contained with a high ratio of Portland cement, extremely hard mortar development in the late 19th century should be used only with compatible modern masonry. Do not use mortar high in Portland cement on historic buildings. When soft brick is repointed with the hard cement, building stresses are transformed with brick rather than mortar. Furthermore, excessive moisture attempting to leave the building gets trapped in the brick rather than escaping through the mortar joints eventually in pressure. 4.2 shows the stone bedding planes, illustration of the old. 4.3 shows a patching brownstone with a powdered brownstone cement mix. Chapter 4.4 shows the blind reattachment of a broken stone. Alright, from the captured water, crystallized salt pops out of the face of the brick, creating an effect known as spalling. Many old repainting jobs using Portland cement, which may be impossible to remove without causing further damage to the bricks around it. In general, repainting should be avoided unless it is clearly needed. Even when carefully done in the damaged old masonry, repainting is necessary. The damaged mortar should be carefully reacted with a depth of about 1 inch, usually only on hand and held tools such as chisels that are fitted to the joint. And the mortar is very powdery, and a gentle stream of the water may be used to clean it out. Power tools such as cutting wheels and pneumatic chisels should not be used in historic masonry, as it is impossible to avoid damage to the historic fabric. Replacement mortar should be match the old as closely as possible. The composition and the color be sure to match the original mortar. Not all later repainting jobs use the hydrated lime and clean sand matches the original with the closely possible color type and coarseness to see what the kind of sand is needed to cross sample the original mortar and water and let the sand settle. 4.5 shows a guide to mortar mix, relatively mortar strength. It may be hard to perfect the color match, although the mortar color is determined most likely by the color of the sand it contains. Effective though, other than factors such as colored additives, weathering to determine the original mortar color. Carefully clean and by washing, gentle scraping, examine the joints in several different locations of the building. Unless you are matching graded blacks mortar, always use white cement, not gray. Color additives and manufactured tinted cements may be used sometimes better in the give of the time, whether they change and softens with the contrast the old and the new pointed areas that add color. You may find that the historic mortar contains additives such as salt and sugar, but these are also harmful and should never be added to the replacement mortar. New mortar joints should be in the same size, shape, of the profile original, and since historical methods of the pointing were quite different from the modern ones, duplicating the requires special skills and tools for the large job. The skilled mason will be needed, even as an experienced worker may need practice to match a particular tool effect, but certain not to smear the new mortar over the brick edges. Mortar should never be smeared across the face of stone except with the rear cases or paint and original rubble finishes. Alright, terracotta. Modern terracotta with a hard ceramic product was developed in the late 19th century. It was often used as wall cladding with a substitute for the carved stone exterior decorating through the 1930s. May be found as also title decoration to building construction in the 1920s through the 1930s. And terracotta comes with a wide range of finishes such as matte and gloss. Colors range from the earth stone to use of the brilliant tones. Most damage to the terracotta is caused by the using of the wrong cleaning materials. Do not attempt to clean terracotta with a hydrofluoric acid or any other strong acid. Cracking of the chipping pieces is often caused by tearing and anchoring system. New terracotta is now available made to out of the replace failed historic units. Stucco. A waterproof type of the exterior plaster, is made with lime, cement, and aggregated with the use originally intended to protect the soft brick and wood construction to provide with the decorative surface of the historical buildings in the 18th, 19th century. It was often scored to resemble the stone-like interior plasters, usually laid in the three coats, with the first of the rough and brown coat, with the last relatively smooth finish. With the 20th century buildings frequently as rough and aggregated finish has both functional and decoratively. Stucco made with a high Portland cement content should not be used as repairs must be a historic building. Concrete. A mixture of the cement aggregated with the concrete with the general use of the late 19th century. It is dense and very strong, a relatively impermeable material that does not absorb water readily. Eerily concrete building block, similar to today's CMU or concrete masonry units, were often molded to resemble stone. Powdered concrete has been around since the 19th century, became widely used with the steel reinforcement became possible. Although the concrete does not absorb mostly easily the metal anchor pins and that hold it and can get it well rusted expended with enough damage to concrete pad, causing it to expand, exposing the reinforced imitation. Stone must be in the cement, crushed in the stone, aggregated with the frequently used in the 20th century. Alright, 4-6 shows the different type of brick joints. Number 1 is flush, surplus mortar, scraped off the trowel. 2 is struck and dip. We're done with the point of the trowel. Struck without a drip is number 3, not with exterior exposure. 4 is erased. 5 is a tooled, and 6 is done, tooled, and scribed for rule. Alright, 4-7 repainting. 1, 2, and 3. 1 is older weather brick stone, often worn with the round edges, feared edge of the mortar break of the taking them particles of the brick. 2 is a recessed joint, looking better, less susceptible to damage. And 3 is where soft bricks are pointed with a hard cement mortar. The hard mortar remains with the brick's disintegrity. Alright, cause of masonry decay. Masonry causes the masonry decay. A certain amount of water is naturally densated with all the bricks and stones. However, when the moisture contaminated with too high soluble salts within the masonry crystallize and cause damage. When do the salts come from? They often brought out from the soil by the rising of the damp that would be caused with the water being wicked up into the masonry, wet ground, and foundation. The damage caused by the rising damp may reach from 1 to 2 feet above the ground. When in many cases the chemicals used to melt the snow from all walks and drives near a building can leach into the walls and crystallize. In cold climates, excessive moisture within the masonry alternating freeze expands, flaws, and contracts. Similar harmful results under flood. Alright, 4-8 shows how to repoint. Remove 3/4 of an inch crumbling mortar, clean joint, then wet mortar bricks. Add new mortar and match the shape of the original joint. Conditions of the water flows through the masonry walls different with the parts of the building may settle with different rates, causing the uneven stress of the building parts. Flooding can also damage the building materials caused, for example, the wood and rot and the iron masonry anchors and rust. Inappropriate rehabilitation techniques such as sandblasting, repainting with a hard mortar can also create several problems. And other causes of the masonry deterioration, differential expansion to take the place of one part of the building reacts when the building shifts because of the weakness of the soil foundation structures. Damage with the mechanical part may be caused with the accident, as when the track backs into the corner of the brick building where the normal use of light heavy traffic, the limestone steps, the inappropriate renovation techniques such as the use of power tools to cut out the old motor joints. Chemical disintegration may result with the pollutants for the atmosphere such as sulfuric acid rain when turns the limestone into gypsum, the wash away from the acids secreted with the moss of the lichens. Alright, summary of maintenance and repair procedure for the masonry structure. Recommended retain original masonry mortar whenever possible without applying many surfaces. Not recommended not applying the waterproof, water repellent coatings with the treatment unless required to solve a specific problem that has been studied with identified coating and those frequently unnecessary, expensive, and waterproofing coating may prevent the natural transfer of the water vapor from the building, causing masonry to deteriorate. Alright, repaint on the moisture joint when there is evidence with the moisture problems is when the sufficient mortar is missing to allow the water to stand in the mortar joint. Do not repoint the mortar joints that do not be repainted, need repainting. Do not use electrical saws or hammers to remove the mortar. Duplicating old mortar, composition, color, texture, duplicated old mortar, and joint size, method of application, joint profile, repair stucco with the stucco picture of the duplicates of the original as closely as possible to the appearance of the texture. Do not repoint the mortar of the high Portland cement content, creating a bond that made stronger than the building material. Do not repoint the mortar joints in its differing size, profile, textures, and color. Alright, clean masonry only when necessary to stabilize the brickwork or halting deterioration. Always use the general method possible. Do not sandblast the brick, stone surfaces. Do not clean with a high pressure of water. Do not use chemical products that could have a diverse chemical reaction with the masonry materials, acid cleaners, and limestone and marble. Retain the original early and color texture masonry surface whenever the possible brickstone surface may have been painted with a whitewash or for practical aesthetic reasons. Do not use electrical saws, hammers, or remove mortar. Do not remove paint from the masonry surface unless it is necessary. This may subject the building to damage and change its historical appearance. Repair and replace whenever necessary. Deteriorated material, new material duplicates the old as closely as possible. 422 metals. Metals found with historical properties included wrought cast iron, tin, lead, zinc, copper, bronze, brass, lead, steel, turning, nickel alloy, stainless steel, and aluminum. These metals are found with the nails in hardwood roofs, decorative cresting balusters, domes, cupolas, railings, interior, exterior stairways, window tins, window frames, masonry anchors, girders, trusses, paints, walls, almost everything in a building might contain the structures and decoration. In order to stop metal deterioration, the repair damage is essential but not always easy to identify the metal. Most metals problems are caused by the water and corrosion galvanic reaction. Corrosion. Architectural metals must often deteriorate with the corrosion, also called oxidation, the chemical reaction of the metal with the oxygen over the substances. The corrosion active with the uniform with the metal corrodes evenly whenever the expanded over to corrosive agents with the selective certain parts of the effective more than others because of the difference in the composition of parts. Corrosion can take many forms. Pitting of the stressing corrosion, cracking caused by the unworked metals react with the chemical in the environment. Erosion is caused by abrasion from the exposure of the fresh metal to the corrosive agents. Galvanic corrosion, electrical chemical reaction for the contact with the two different metals, such as an iron nail on the copper roof. Atmospheric corrosion, the most common form of the caused by the sulfuric compounds found in industrial exhaust in the salt air and the seawater in the coastal areas. Not all corrosion is bad. Oxidation sometimes forms a protective coating for the metal and limiting further damage for the greenish patina that forms over the copper roofs is one of the examples of healthy corrosion. Metal changes, mechanical breakdown. Metals with the breakdown because of the abrasion with the moving the dirt, dust, sand, grit, sleet, hail, rubbing of the abrasion was especially critical with the metal flushing of the valleys of the slate roofs. Humans usually and other cause of the abrasion roof of the areas that must be walked on. Maintenance should be protected with the wood decking. Metal fatigue is caused by the repeated low level stress areas. The metal fatigue is also caused by the failure to copper the roof, which expand and contract in response to the temperature changes. It also may lead to the structural failure of the metal railroad bridges. Creeping overload and fire damage, weathering, connecting failures are either the common metal problems. Cast iron may not only rust but can also split and freeze, thaw, and cycle in water gets beyond the rust. Common baluster, when the iron piece for the attachment with the masonry should stray, such as a stair railing set in stone with the concrete rusting that it may be expanded and split in the masonry. Most architectural cast iron is made with many of the pieces bolted together. Many of the problems in such a wobbly stair rails can be solved with the taking of the elements apart and cleaning them tightly in all bolts. You may have all these large parts of screws, but to make them with the metal lost throughout the rusting. All right, 423 wood. Fire may be the fastest way to destroy wood, but the water is and by far the most common. Besides the damage it can be due directly to the incursion of fungus, mold, and insects, it hastens structural failures, weakening wood members. Dry rot, wet rot, brown rot, fungus, mold are all signs of excessive moisture. Infestation requires professional treatment. Be altered with the evidence of the budge and damages. Powdered Post beetles have little piles of sawdust so that their exhaust holes, older houses, borers make a large oval holes in coniferous wood. Termite damage can be found by sticking the pen knife into the wood. Professional inspection treatment with the inspection infestation need for the prevention further. See Figure 4.9. Alright, decaying wood should be replaced or repaired whenever it is found. The epoxies can be used to stabilize damaged piece. In kind of the replacement, i.e. with wood, usually fairly simple, molded decorative shapes are widely available with this commercial shopping. When necessary, large decorative and features on the building may replaced with the fiberglass sheet metal fabrications made with the specialists. It should be considered, but only the replacements are too high for the building of the easily seen with the ground, but when the original wooden pieces are too heavy to be safety and supported by the historical structure. 4.9 shows the National Geographic limits of termite damage. In chosen replacement woods, to keep in mind with the shape of the characteristic original modern standard lumber size and or smaller but the historical lumber size, replacement pieces should be cut to match the old pieces exactly, since even the smallest difference would be very obvious for the finished job. If it is not to be painted with the new wood, then it should be matched to old wood with a species of the grain and color. Do not repaint unless you have to. Clean before repainting, but do not use water and chemicals on bare wood. Keep the wood dry. Keep the gutters and downspouts of the roof. The key flashing of the good repair. Do not let the water stand on the roof, windows, hills, outdoors, windows lit. Top cornices and directive elements. Allow ventilation. Keep weep holes on the hollow. Vertical elements such as columns provided if needed with weathering of the bare wood may cause discolorization, erosion, disintegration. Generally, the bare wood should be treated with the preservatives primed and painted. Pentachloride, ethanol solutions of 500 pentaethyl chloroethanol solution in water should be applied with the sanded wood before repainting. 10% of the solution may be used with the wood that is often wet, waterproof with the butt joints and ended with the joints and other vertical joints, and is using a 20% solution in water, which oil, liquid, paraffin additives. Alright, 4.3, moisture problems. Protecting the building with excessive moisture problems is the most important goal of the historic building maintenance programs. Moisture should be prime subject whenever they're almost impossible anything that goes wrong with the old building. Water is enemy of all building materials, water, masonry, stone, metal. It attacks every direction in snow, rain, humidity, and free water with the soil and the rising damp within the walls that collects the rooftops and the basements and the insulation. Nearly every cover of the building can decay, including the vegetation, fungus, insect infestation, chemical damage, and other ills that made worse with the presence of the moisture. The moisture meters can be used to detect quantify and excess moistures. Early symptoms also are easy to spot without special equipment is useless and sometimes impossible to repair water-related damage unless the cause of expensive moisture is eliminated. Simple preventive maintenance is usually the best way to keep the building dry and sound. If you find these things, inspecting with the moisture, standing water, peeling paint, damp water, wallpaper, powdery plaster, damaged floors, rotting wood, dry or rusting metal, deteriorated mortar, molds and funguses, fluorescence, spalling, and discolored masonry. Alright, these shows the positive points of area of the decay on a house. If you find these things when inspecting moisture, inspection infestation, damp and musty inside air, then to look for the faulty mortar, damaged parapets, check cracks in masonry, defective caulking, sealants and exposed joints, defective gutters and downspouts, flashing and leaky copings. Then look for rising damp, ivy, other vegetation, damp surfaces, sandblasted brick, faulty wood or slidings. Then do these things first priority. Maintain, clean, repair roof, finish, flashing gutters and downspouts, windows, caulking of the mortar, joints, the weeping, the holes, and etc. Keep attic and basement foundations dry and well ventilated, but the problem of working with the floor and the ground drains is needed. Keep door and window frames tight and fitting with a well caulk. Keep shrubbery and vines away from the walls and foundation. Do not overwater plants near the building of the foundation. Consider these steps the last resort. Damp proof the course of the French drains below the grade of waterproofing agents, above the grade of water repellent coatings. All right, 4-4, cleaning and coatings. Cleaning and coatings. Cleaning of masonry. The usually reason for the wanting of the cleaning of the masonry buildings is cosmetic. Cleaning buildings often look nicer than dirty ones. Cleaning is only the relative. Also reveals historic feature of the colors, textures, and that have been hidden under the years for dirt. Cleaning masonry can make repairs easier and prevent their further damage. However, the improper cleaning can be exactly the opposite effect, causing irreversible damage. Before beginning a masonry cleaning project, to get advanced with the experience of unbiased masonry specialist, the cleaning of the contractor. There is no time, home remedies, self-help that becomes mistakes and costly permanent. The State Historical Preservation Officer recommends an appropriate method for the source of experts advise. Figure 4.11 shows the source of water damage around the chimneys. Noted that the entry point of the chimney cap and the parapet flashing defective motoring joints. Before attempting any of the type of the cleaning, it is important to find out what the dirt is present to determine when the dirt is actually damaging the building. Decide on the gentlest possible moving it means of removing it. Dirty buildings usually have the combination of the dirt, soot, smoke, and bird droppings, oil stains, metal stains such as rust and copper, graffiti, paint, and tar, organic stains left in the moss, algae, lichen, fungi, and ivy tendrils. The masonry itself has developed a dirty-looking protective crust for the cost and must be removed without moving part of the masonry. One type of the dirt found in the urban industrial area is grime black or the gray crust formed by the interaction of the airborne particles from the natural industrial source of the microorganisms like the fungi, algae, and ivy subsections, as well as byproduct of the breakdown of masonry surface itself. Alright, figure 412 shows the common problems in a basement. Products for use of spot cleaning stonework. Note, before undertaking cleaning of the test in small inconspicuous area, water must be cleaned with free of metallic elements. Graffiti and spray paint. On exterior stonework, the acetone variants of the solvent, the commercial paint stripper. On the interior stonework, solvent such as the lacquer of thinner and chlorinated hydrocarbons most effective with the fresh stain. Asphalt, bitumen, and tar. Kerosene, acetone, toluene, mineral spirits, chlorinated. It is solvents, automobile, asphalt, cleaners, oil and grease, chlorinated solvents, petroleum solvents, and ammonia hydroxide. Rust, oxalic acid pollutants on granite, sodium citrate and ammonia citrate on carbonate stones such as marble and limestone, and citric acid. Copper alloys, ammonium carbonate, ammonium solution, sulfamic acid, ammonium chloride, lichen and moss ivy pants, commercial herbicide detergents, household bleach. Algae and mushroom soap, commercial powder, the cleanser with the bleach, and such as Ajax and common calcium hydrochloride, chlorinated light leaching powders, peroxide, tobacco smoke, oil coating residue, bleaching pollutants made with a hydrogen peroxide, hypochlorite bleach, or Clorox, a marble paste with calcium hypochlorite mixed with hydrated lime. Alright, take the time to get clear with the idea what the petroleum is being and what can safely be done about it. With the after cleaning method being considered, it should be tried first on the test patch, about 2 square feet on the break of one entire unit of the stone wall on an inconspicuous part of the building. Allow plenty of the time for the result to appear. Deterioration, discolorization may take months to show up. Moving graffiti. Historical graffiti, for instance, the name of the early residence written on the attic wall should be preserved. The most modern graffiti, the lipstick, paint, and magic marker messages should usually be removed. Solvents must be chosen. The particular stain applied with the pollutants a pass from the chemical mix with the inert substance such as the talc, fuller's earth, and chalk, powdered clay, sawdust, whiting, and other diatomaceous earth. The poultice and spread of 1/3 to 1.5 inch thick on the pre-wetted sanded surface, covered in plastic sheet and allowed with the dry slow with the dryness carefully with the removed and rinsed water. See figure 413 as a pollutants. Absorbent material is applied to the stain. The area is covered with the pollutants is scraped off the wooden spatula. The surface is rinsed with water. Figure 413 shows how to apply with the pollutants. Or made a paint remover containing with methanol chloride-based paint remover mixed with the talc chalk and clay with the thickening agent effectively against felt tip marker, ink, and anti-graffiti surface coating with the urethane, elsterics, and silicones should be avoided because they are frequently changing the appearance of the coat of the surfaces that may even act as a primer for some of the markers. Paint removal from masonry. Do not remove paint unnecessarily. Complete the removal usually mistaken since the paint was likely to put there by good reason. Perhaps the product takes this off with the deteriorated brick with a highly sloppy original masonry work. It may have been part of the original decorative scheme of the building. The stepping and damage in the surface beneath the spread deterioration. General rule of the paint should be taken down only in the first the undamaged layer, and the removing the paint. Keep it in mind with the building constructed before the 1950s may contain lead base paint removed. Any of the method of hazardous waste must be disposed and accordingly used the proper precautions. Before starting and stripping a job, carefully remove the paint from the several patches and unobtrusive section of the building so that the problems may arise. The sequence of the paints and paint colors on the buildings as part of the history, as all the paint is to be removed and researched and necessary to determine the original colors should be done before the stripping and the reap, as is at least one small section that contains every paint of the color as historical evidence. Bad peeling surfaces that will be repainted should be prepared by hand using natural bristle nylon brushes and hand scraper to remove the deteriorated paint. Trisodium phosphate or TSP in the water with a good cleaner if you plan to repaint the physical, basically sound surface. It softens and removes the old top layer, leaving the deglossed surface. Always use gentlest cleaning method possible. Avoid abrasive cleaning. Abrasive cleaning must be methods using wet and dry sand or grit blasting, even though very low pressure, should never be used in the historical masonry wood buildings. The methods destroy the hard outer skin, bricks, terracotta, even in the stone. Once the protection is gone, the surface will become the more likely to soak with water, leading to the problems such as the spalling, de-exfoliation, efflorescence, decay. Abrasive cleaning can also be damaged nearby the building. The surface such as glass and also hazard work of the bystanders' automobiles, as well as the shrubbery and other landscape features that are necessary to remove all paint, and following methods may be considered. Wet cleaning. It is usually safe to begin cleaning with the masonry with a low pressure spray with the plain water from the handheld garden hose, gentle scrubbing using a soft natural bristle brush. Do not use a wire brush. They are often hard on masonry. Particles on the wire may be left behind the rust and stain. A tablespoon or two of liquid non-ionic detergent, such as high-sold dishwashing liquid, can be added with each gallon of water. It fails to prolong spraying and white misting of the plain water at low pressure to soften the surface of dirt enough to allow it to be rinsed off. The spraying should be done intermittently for about 3 to 4 minutes at the time of the pause, with several seconds in between. This will keep the surface from the drying, allowing to avoid penetration masonry joints with damaging surfaces. After time into the hose, the softening of the process may take up to a week. High-pressure washing at 600 to 1800 psi should not be used on the expect. The hard surfaces sense the softer stones and limestone and sandstone marble can be eroded. High pressure water, steam cleaning, expensive, slow, average working time 1 minute square foot, and somewhat hazardous to the work. They're useful for the cleaning in the accurately carved areas with a heavy brushing and is likely to have the cause of staining of the prolonged washing. There are some problems associated with wet cleaning. Chemicals in the water may react adversely to those in the masonry. For instance, the water containing copper and iron may cause the stains of the surface of the building stones. Adding chelating chemicals to trap the metal into the wash of the water can help to prevent this effect. When water may bring the mineral salts of the brickstone to the surface, causing the hazy white film called efflorescence. The discolorization is harmless in itself. It can usually be brushed away without permanent damage to the masonry. Check the pH level of the water before starting. Prolonged washing will even slightly acidic water, so that it as much as the public water supplies can dissolve the limestone and the marble surfaces. Masonry can be structurally weakened by the saturation water that penetrates the mortar joints and the interior surface of saturation, isolation, and damage. Finished materials. Water cleaning should not be carried out when there is any of the danger of frost within the next several weeks. The U.S. Weather Bureau can be provided with the average freeze data for the autumn and the spring for any of the part of the country. When the ground saturation caused by spraying, it can cause the wrenching and the damping. Before wet cleaning, make sure the damp masonry joints have been repaired and the caulking motor and are surrounded sound. Using techniques requiring least amount of the water, using only plastic, non-ferrous tools, seal door, window openings with a 15 millimeter polyethanol type taped all around the opening. Alright, heating tools. Heat guns and heat plates that have been working temperatures at least 750 degrees Fahrenheit may be used with caution. Propane torches and other types of open flames should never be used in a historical building. Many of the historical buildings have resulted from their use, and in addition, they can only damage old brick and wood. Other than building materials, break window glass. They also create hazardous fumes and vaporize any lead. Many of them present in the paint lead whenever present when the paint whenever the heat is used to remove the paint from the fire. Watch must be kept on the site for at least 3 hours after the discontinuing of the heat use. Smoldering fires can take a long time to show up. Are your chemicals? Paint stripping chemicals should be used only when necessary by the professionals. All the chemicals are the most effective way to completely strip paint. They present environmental health hazards. Chemical stripping is often messy. The several layers of the different type of the paint must be removed. It may be necessary to use different chemicals on each layer. Alkaline strippers of sodium, potassium, hydrochloric base work best. Of the old line said. Old paints, one of the disadvantages of alkaline strippers is that they can cause efflorescences and masonry surfaces weak. Hydrofluoric acid cleanser is sometimes applied with neutralizer before rinsing with water. Organics chemicals such as methylene chloride are better from the modern paints of the finishes such as the urethane vanishes than epoxies. Methylene chloride strippers must be applied to the pollutants and leaching packs, avoided with the spreading of the stains required through rinsing. Methylene chloride is carcinogen that should be used only outdoors and in well-ventilated areas. Safe strippers made with basic acid, ester, and other chemicals such as biodegradable citrate derivatives are now available. Alright, your blanket on the matte type strippers are similar to the leach package. They have different advantages in containing the paint residues and has removed the disposal simpler and safer. Lime washes such as whitewash can be dissolved in acid. Maintenance mechanical means careful hand sanding and scraping and often good ways of removing paint. Belt sanders, rotary, wire brushed, power driven carbo dried cones. Discs cannot be used on historical buildings. Sanding and scraping them even by hand can create dust and contain toxic materials such as lead. They require the use of the mask and careful cleanup. Alright, 442, masonry coatings and painting. Waterproof and water repellent coatings of the treatment should be used, not be used unless necessary to solve the specific problem that has been studied. Identify the coatings are often expensive and unnecessary. They do not stabilize masonry to prevent their further deterioration. Waterproof coating seals the surface of the masonry against both the water and waterproof vapor. The intent of the use of the below the grade water repellent coatings, which seal against the water but not against the water vapor. There should be used the vapor grade of the coatings can be trapped the moisture within the masonry, causing appealing, spalling, or other damage. Silicone sealers are the most commonly used type. They may added slightly only sheen finish. They must also be renewed about 5 to 7 years. They may cause subfluorescence or buildup of mineral salts beneath the surface of the masonry, which can lead to the spalling of the only water-soluble solutions, which silicones and silicone carbonates are acceptable for use of historical buildings. Do not use acrylic or polymeric solution, acrylites, or polyvinyl chlorides, or polyvinyl lacite. Paint is a traditional protective coating of the brick, and although it is considered reversible because it is removed, its removal can damage original surfaces. Traditional historical buildings should not be painted with purely cosmetic reasons. Both paint can obstruct important decorative details, interfering with the masonry ability to breathe. Often, cleaning it is enough to renew the surface. Paint can create many of the same problems as other coatings of the traditional whitewash. All allows the same vapor the transmission. Modern latex paints, especially with exterior masonry walls, preferred, and the paints such as the epoxy, such as alkalis, may not allow masonry wood to breathe. Should it not be used, even the latex paints is applied to, or many layers may become impermeable. Structural maintenance. The first problem with the addressing of the structural problem, recognize that there is a problem after many of the years of the painting and the patching. In addition to the alteration of the structural problems, often go undetected. Structural problems show up the visual condition of the materials. Examples: the cracks in the foundation, warped and bowed, timber framing, the deteriorated materials. Figure 414. Other inductors. Structural damage can be sour odors, visual fungus, which may indicate the dry or wet rot, dust piles, metal shavings, woody chips, piles may indicate structural movements over the insect. Damage in general. Historical buildings do not need to meet the same structural design requirements as contemporary buildings. Accept moderate deflections, measuring monitoring crack dimensions, movement into predominantly asset existing condition. The predominant damage of the foundation covered the movement of the pile cap, the rotting with wood pile sediment, and a change of the groundwater level. Therefore, there is an associated change of the bearing capacity of the structure. The engineering principle needed to fix the problem. The best left of the structural engineer's rule for them dealing with the foundation of the problem is not to reinforce the isolated areas without the consideration of resilient force of the rest of the structure. For the evaluating masonry damage, consider the moisture of the mortar and the historical structure predominantly lime mixtures, which are softer and less durable than you be used in modern construction. Portland cement mortar used in the movement condition will frequently split off the brick and the stones basically because it is strongly with the line of mortars as shown with the figure 414, considering using the line of mortars repainting the masonry. Timber construction by its nature will drop and sag over the time. This does not mean that the structure is not sound. The problems of the timber construction are found with the most frequently the wood is cut away with accommodation, alteration, second area with the wood, investigation with the possibility of the bug investigation, the bugs and present with the timber area of the hollow, decayed fungi, fumigation and application with the bug toxicity preservation should be used. Fungus can be deteriorated with the strength of the environmental, not heated with the cool to prevent the growth. Wrought iron with the grand fill with the steel by 100 years for the early items of the fastening hardware and the various with the compression members. The wrought iron was not frequently used with the tension members because of the brittle nature, but earlier the 1900 steel became the more material with the choice of its ability. 414 shows the collapse in masonry linettes, indications of structural fault. To be flexible yet durable, the conditions should be debated with prevented with the materials and the corrosion, abrasion, and movement and impact. Or your mechanical system HVAC. Most historical buildings that are used for living in the workplace with the modern heating and the cooling ventilation systems as well as the up-to-date kitchens and the bathrooms. The most important consideration installation of these systems is not how to hide them, but is how to protect the historical fabric of the building. We may find that it is surprisingly easy to do both in time to examine the building closely before the beginning of the new isolation closet, pantry, services, areas, basements, wings, and can often be found with the modern bathroom, kitchen, utility rooms. Many 19th century buildings were built in the central heating ventilation system that can be adapted with today's air conditioning, wire needs, ducting, central AC, sometimes installed with using old chassis. The floor venting may be added with the docks and rising with them. The basement, other locations considered between the roof of the deck and the ceiling, but only a new roof is being installed within with the roof of the ceiling structures, but only with original suspended furred ceiling between the structural and subfloors of the flooring, and with non-structural fill between the sleepers, exposed in the cellar, bottom floor, the crawl space, and surface areas. Only the trenching below the building if soil, groundwater conditions permit, with the walls in existence with the furred space, the new built out space with the furring of the overstructures, members above the beam, flanges, the top cornices, other concealed locations do not cut away the portions of the historical woodwork cornices, install new work. When installation, water pipes, electrical conduits, ducts, and you're careful not to cut through the beams of the floor joists, especially near the bearing of the upper and lower third of the member. While the floor of the ceiling is open, inspect the repair and the bearing of the members that have been undermined with the early plumbing. The installation reinforced weakened members within wood, steel, and scabs. Security of the fire detection and suppression systems can often be installed with using the same precautions. The usable fan coil air-conditioned units with the coil to cool the room to be desirable to require only the piping installation with the historical fabric that can be located atrociously beneath the windows and painted with the match wall finishes through the wall of the room. The air conditioner should be avoided. The windows units must be used in the they should be mounted on the side of the rear walls. The wall surfaces should be protected with the dripping condensation from the central heating and the air conditioning located with the grills and vents in the inconspicuous place. Vibration from the air conditioning condenser, other than machinery, may be harmful to the old structural special care which is required of the dam and vibrations. The attic of the roof mounted, but the equipment do not suspend system of the attic roof of the rafter. The roof mounted air conditioning system should be located so that they cannot be easily seen from the ground. You may occasionally come across a historical, interesting mechanical equipment or the director of the element. In the unlike places, these elements could be marble counters, the stalls in the bathroom, brass, bronze, lavatory faucets, doors, handles, stalls, stall connectors. They should be preserved and used where they are feasible. Be alert to corrosion leak of the piping system over 30 years old. Maintain valve such as the radiator valves. Replace seating in the rings every few years. Install water hammer the resistors that do not need the preventing vibration. Maintain traps and air vents on the steam system to keep condensation from them being fountaining from the vents and within the system. Startup of maintaining the water treatment system to the preventing of the corrosion of the piping. 4-7 electrical system and wiring. New lighting and electrical systems should not be intruded with visually and physically on the old materials featured, while the wiring can often be fished through the existing chains. The obtrusively surface mounted necessary electrical outlets should be mounted in plaster walls rather than historic baseboards, and wiring cannot be concealed using the metallic surface of the railway. It was carefully attached to avoid damaging the historical materials. Repainted same furnished colors as the adjacent surface of the running of the wires in conspicuous places places along with the molding edges of the appearances rather than across the flat wall of surfaces. Remove the inactive telephone wires. Burn new wires at the floor level rather than the top of the baseboard. Alright, do not surface the amount of the junction boxes on walls, exteriors, keeping the wire minimum of exposed surface, especially on the exterior of the building. High intensity of the building and light systems are not appropriate for the use of the historic building. Historical ornamental lighting fixtures such as cannon chandeliers, cones should be retained as part of the building fabric. Often they can be rewired using general illumination or indirect lighting. If you find that piping for the old gas lighting fixture are often left in place with electricity was added, try to use the piping as a conduity electrical wires for the new lighting system to avoid having to cut them and repair them. Original furniture to check the ceiling mounting system for the chandeliers any time the ceiling is open and accessible to repair any of the weakening conditions. Only the new knob top wiring sometimes found in the attic and conceal areas should be replaced and inspect the old wiring for the fairing of the rubbing against the structural members. Alright, roofs and covering water drains. Besides the being of the historical building, most important protection for the elements, the roof is one of the building's most important historical design features. The shape of the features, such as creasing, dormers, and cupolas, chimneys, the size of the colors, patterning with the roof and materials, all character defining elements that must be preserved. Do not change the roof shape of the added features, such as the skylights, especially if they will be visibly from the street. Preserve historical roof materials, repairing any of the kind of, when possible, copper, leading lead, or coated copper, or tin, terrain, stainless steel, galvanized iron roof pet materials, as well as metal shingle that is readily available. Replace only the damaged section. Use replacement materials that are identical to the original color, size, and finish and reflectivity. 415 shows a historical window inappropriate closed in. If an entire roof must be replaced, there might be an acceptable modern substitute with a cheaper, lighter in weight, and more durable than original. Do not remove the original eaves or overhangs, cornices. Repair if they usually important for the design feature possible. Replace the exterior replicas. Balustrated are prone to decay and need frequent inspection and painting. Replace the woodwork with a correction of the historical size of the old dormer to dimension for the often larger than modern dimensions. Small dimensions obvious for the new work is in place. The new millwork with the cornices balustrated, but other than features available for the millwork of the firms that be specialized with historical work. Inspecting lighting rods mounted with the roof and installing with additional roof rods on roof if required for the code by code. 481 roofing materials. A wide range of materials were used with the historical roof for the repair and replacing the kind of the roof that's visible. Copper roofs. They're among the best roofs. They're very expensive, but it's usually better to allow the new copper roof with the flashing the weather naturally, but then use the chemical washes to age them. Slate roofs. A slate roof can at least 50 to 100 years old, but slate varies in quality. A historical building roof that constructed with the inferior of the slate will be needed earlier. Replacement slate roofs are easily damaged in impact, such as falling tree branches, working from when walking on the roof of the fire. Repair slate roofs, replacing on only the damaged slates and deteriorated, but then remove the slates and discard the broken ones. Reuse the old slates in the area that are shown. Install new ones in elsewhere. Do not use iron steel nails on slate roofs. These nails will eventually rust and the slates will fall off. Copper nails are best. The galvanized nails can be used and the copper won't penetrate the slate. Do not walk on the slate roof. Do not torch or fill in the between slates within mortar to keep the moisture from evaporating. Then cause the wooden battens and the rafters to rot. Remove organic growth such as moss, algae, and lichens. Tile roofs, barrel tile and Spanish tile, the flat tiles, and also have a potential life. Use galvanized nails to prevent corrosion damage to the tiles. Watch and avoid cross damage. Match a replacement tile with the original of the color, size, thickness, and type of the tile. Install the new tiles with a small weather exposure for the original. Do not walk on the tile roofs. And the wooden shingle set roof. When repairing the wooden shingle roof using the long life of the materials, use modern first-rated wood and shingle which will be available to see figure 416 and 417. Replace damaged shingles when they need new wood shingles of the same width and shape and exposure of the width. Sheet metal roofs. If kept and painted with a galvanized steel metal roof, then definitely they may be standing seam, flat seam, or the batten seam. That you replacing and keeping them in the same sheet configuration original with the standing seam, flat seam, or the batten seam. Do not walk on sheet metal roofs. Lead or lead-coated copper roofs. Do not repair sliding with using bituminous tar patches. Consult the experienced roofer if any more than the minor repair is needed. Tin or turn roofs. Use a lead-coated fastener copper nail with the key painted with the prime underside with the exterior with the metal with the inline inside with the iron oxide prime primer paint with the exterior with the oil-based coat. Fill cracks in with the non-shrinking caulk as a temporary measure only with the plan to replace galvanized roofs. Repair the sheet metal with the similar metal with the sum of the links, not shrinking the caulk, not with the tar products. Paint metal roofs if there is historically painted with the base metal showing through. The use of the historical appropriate colors. This is available wooden shingle for shaking of the re-roofing. And this 416. 417 is wooden shingles, historical details, and installation patterns. Alright, roll roofing. Do not use asphalt roll roofing historical methods except the flat roof is not visible with the ground level membrane. With the roofing is acceptable to replace the flat concealed roof. The roll roofing was added over the historical material in the early rehabilitation considered going back to historical materials when re-roofing. 482, water draining. To excessive the moisture out of the building to maintain the requiring repair flashing of the gutters of the downspout. If the building does not have adequate flashing of the gutter system, then install them in a way that will preserve the original appearance of the building. Our exterior wall system, masonry. In historic construction, stucco was usually applied directly at the top of the masonry walls without the intervening layer of the lath. This makes the masonry more vulnerable to the moisture infiltration through the rising of the damp of the watering running down the wall, and the repairing consideration, expanding the metal lath between the masonry and stucco layer, respectively decorative, except for the stonework that do not remove the smoke over the water table, stringing the course other than projecting elements, repairing the brick walls, and being mindful of the original brick pattern. The type of the brick used in which but match the replacement bricks of the original size and the color, and the texture of the repoint of the mortar joints of the being matched with the size and the color of the tooling of the original and closely as possible, and repairing the stone walls matching the replacement stone of the original and the size of the color and type of the stones, being aware of the stones and leaking identical to the original may have different weathering patterns. 492, wood frame. Most of the frame construction since the mid-19th century was ballooned with the frame with large wooden industrial buildings. The earlier historical framing was widely spaced with the post and the beam of the construction. Post-beam construction continued most later industrial buildings. There are special problems with the frame of the wall. Those historical buildings, including rot, deterioration, lack of insulation, structural failure, deformation sills, and other horizontal structures where water can be sand, in particular deterioration problems. Clapboards and shingles, repair board by board. Do not reside with the entire wall unless necessary. Stucco over the wood with the metal lath. Even in the early 19th century, stucco was often placed directly over the wood. Installed brick walls to improve waterproofing. The 20th century was installed over the wood boards and lath, and later over the metal. With the old metal lath is subject to the rust, and then repairing stucco. The most of the modern metal lath were installed with the top of the old wooden lath. If possible, the test patch of the stucco recap the texture and degree with the graininess is general, but the sand is pebbleable finish. The stucco may crack in the fall off the keys of the between the rust and structural deformation and revibration. Alright, brick veneer over the wood lath. Brick veneer is subject to the bowing and the cracking of the problems similar to those. The stucco problems that are localized to when the brick is back to these CMUs in modern construction. Removing permastone, asphalt, and asbestos siding. In the order to decide whether to remove the asphalt siding, it is necessary to know that how much of the damage is underneath the siding, and the permastone should be removed whenever the opportunity arises. Asbestos siding must be referred to as asbestos control. Vinyl aluminum siding. Vinyl aluminum siding should not be used with the historical building. From the standpoint of the historical preservation, there are three important reasons to avoid such siding. One, that it changes the historical appearance of the building because of the texture proportions of the new boards are different from the original wood siding. So it may be hide historical features such as cornices, windows, moldings, and carvings. Two, the siding conceals existing ongoing damage to the walls or original siding may repair more difficulty. 3, the installation process itself, the damage of the original siding with the other historical features. Studies have been shown that the long term it is not more economically installed to maintain aluminum vinyl siding to keep the wood siding with a good repair. Artificial sidings are not maintenance free. They peel, split, and bend and made fade. Consequently, they may require the repair and the repainting of only a few years, usually with the must be replaced entirely within 20 years, although they are sometimes advertised being an energy efficient aluminum vinyl siding that has no significant insulation value. Painting exterior wood walls whenever possible. Cleaning of the wood walls, but do not paint them. Paint them necessary to leave the wood bare. Finish the walls with the paint and stain it as found in the original. When repainting, with what you want to use the historical colors of specialists in the paint color analysis can determine the historical correct colors with the samples taken with the undisturbed, the unstrapped, and unweathered wall section. When preparing the paint, cleaning the wall first with the scrape and sand of the old surface. Do not strip the only necessary. Do not use the water on the bare wood. Prepare the surface carefully. Putty of the spackle. Repair the split. Replace the bad section. Sand and further feather the edge of the build under the paint. It is best to use the same type of the paint and repainting. Insulating walls. Insulating existing of the wall is often difficult because of the construction of the historic fabric. It is not generally if it justified with the building as being complete with the resided or replastered. The amount of heat loss through the walls is relatively small compared to the loss through the windows, doors, and roofs. Concentrate insulation efforts in the most cost-effective areas. Do not seal the walls, foundation cracks. Do not use urethane foam. The insulation, since beside the posing of the health threat hazard, it remains moisture with the walls and cannot be removed without damaging the original material. Control vapor transmittal with the vapor barriers that should be toward and the heated side of the wall, toward the inside of the cool climates and toward the outside of the humid climates. Wood walls needed to breathe and do not over-insulate. Enclosed porches. Porches and enclosures should not detract the historical design of the building and the maintain with the overall of the porch as well as the cornicing, columns, and the trimming. Exterior vestibules can also be added to increase the energy efficiency and convenience as they are carefully designed. The best place to put them is generally within the open porch. Alright, 410. Windows.